Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lincoln Journal-Star's Rapid Reaction. Luke, Mullin, and Amie just coming at you from a new location, the Hawks indoor practice facility, where Matt Rhule just named Nebraska's new head coach officially. Introductory press conference, athletic director Trev Alberts, all the dignitaries on hand, of course. It's a big event. A lot of people turn out for it. And, my initial takeaway, everyone knows, Matt Rhule, he's a pretty charismatic guy, great speaker, wins people over. And I think, as much as people talk about winning a press conference or whatever, you could just tell he's a leader out there. He's a guy that people connect with, isn't he?
Yeah, you see that. I mean, he's the son of a preacher, and the cadence that he was speaking with today was very apparent in that. The syntax is down, right? And that is part of what helps him with recruiting, whether that be in the NFL with free agency or back in the college game now, and that will be used to his benefit. As soon as Friday, he said he's getting the ball rolling with recruiting, there's a lot of ground to make up.
Absolutely, and we've got a lot to dig into here just in this video breakdown. We'll cover it all on a podcast later in the week, of course. But, in regards to that recruiting, the transfer portal, these are major decisions for the next head coach to make. How do you attack these roster deficiencies? What are your targets? And Rhule, he was saying, there's kind of a type of guy that they like to recruit, speedy, big, doesn't matter if they need development. And that was something he said Nebraska can be that premier development facility. Trev Alberts also echoed those thoughts. And in regards to the transfer portal, Rhule speaking about the top college programs, he says over time they rely on that portal less and less, but right now he said leave no stone unturned. Nebraska, they'll look at all the players out there and make those best decisions to acquire talent as needed.
Yeah, and it's not just going to be from the Power 5 level. He talked about when he was evaluating for the draft the last few years, and, you're seeing these FCS guys who could be, first, second rounders, and he's like, no, we want them here. We need to find those guys and bring them here. And so I think that's a testament to no stone unturned and doing what's necessary. And the portal's going to be really full of a lot of different guys, so they're going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Rhule also saying he got the chance to speak with the team today, shared a brief message, along the lines of, hey, you guys didn't come here to play for me, but I chose to come here and coach you. That was kind of his message to the team. Said he'll speak with Mickey Joseph and the other assistant coaches in the coming days. Already reports coming out about a few new assistants joining his staff, but he said he wants to be respectful of his coaching staff, take time to let that process play out. And we're talking about processes, of course, a very long hiring process. We got a few more details from Trev Alberts' financials, how it all kind of went down, and just what's your immediate reaction to what Trev had to say?
Yeah, so Trev said it's an 8-year deal worth $74 million, 90% guaranteed, and there's some deferred compensation in there, so we'll figure out what that looks like when we get the full contract back, and that includes a salary pool for assistants of $7 million. That's the big takeaway that I'm taking. You knew that Rhule was going to be given the bag, so to speak, and but the assistant pool of $7 million is large, and that should attract some big name talent to either stay or new faces coming in.
Yeah, certainly. When you're looking at the assistant coaching salaries of last year, that $7 million would go a very, very long way, in regards to bumping up the salaries of any coaches they wanted to keep. And of course, like you said, bringing in those new ones, those top coaching talents from across the country, those that are very high paid already. It can be an obstacle for some schools, but like you said, that $7 million will go offset that cost a little bit. And, in regards to Trev Alberts' comments, he was saying that he talked to 13 different coaches. Matt Rhule, he said, was always the 1A, and talked to, had conversations with. That was kind of the wording he used. Interviewed, not the right word that Trev said, but, having those 13 different coaches in play and Rhule is the top guy, what do you think that says about his fit here at Nebraska?
Yeah, so Trev, when he gave his introduction, he went through a list of bullet points for characteristics that he had on his checklist for a future coach. And those were authentic leader, man of integrity, culture builder, people manager, process-oriented, attention to detail, grinder, and strategic thinker. And then Trev went on to say that one coach stood out from all of the rest, and that was Matt. And I think that there's something to be said for that. When you go into a search of this magnitude and of this caliber, you look for the things that matter to you as an athletic director, as a program, as what you want out of somebody, and you don't go into it looking at one person to fit the box. You make you look at everything and who they are as people and how does that fit. And I think that was really important for this as well.
Without a doubt. And I mean, Trev also saying, Rhule's status as kind of a fixer-upper of a few programs, particularly at Temple and Baylor. I mean, that plays into this consideration, the task he has reversing the streak of 6 losing seasons that Nebraska is going through. And what I thought was really interesting is the way that Rhule has embedded himself within the communities at each of those previous places, particularly at Baylor. I mean, they are crazy about their football down in Texas, and Rhule made inroads within the state talking to high school football coaches, was very well liked among the different communities there in Texas. And he was speaking today about doing the same thing, saying he wants to be part of this community here in Lincoln. And what also stood out to me is he said something along the lines of he recognizes people, when they come to Nebraska football games, they're spending their hard-earned money, their work that they do that, to come watch Nebraska. And he said he wants to put a team out there that people are proud of.
And one of those things that he emphasized multiple times was, he said, you can't win if you don't win at the line of scrimmage. And that is somebody, regardless of who Nebraska was going to hire, needed to emphasize as we move forward. Yeah,
without a doubt, one of those top glaring weaknesses that he'll look to address, again, in the portal and recruiting. And he said he reached out to all the 2023 commits, looking forward to hopefully being on part of the recruiting trail as early as next week. Again, very important part of the process. And as we kind of look for Matt Rhule to make this adjustment, back from NFL to college. He's been in the college game for a while, but a couple years with the Carolina Panthers, the transfer portal, things have changed. And what he said was, hey, he could have been making the same amount of money out there golfing on the golf course. He came to Nebraska because he wanted to be here, wanted to develop young players. And of course, Amie, you had some brief interactions with Rhule, covered the Saints while Rhule was with the Panthers. What was kind of your general sentiment of him then and today?
Yeah, when he was hired at first, I didn't know if he would be able to make the adjustment, because it is a tough adjustment to go from being a college coach to being an NFL coach. I mean, in so many different aspects, they're basically not the same sport anymore. There's just very different things, and how you manage a college kid is very different than how you manage a professional player, and you wondered if it would work. It didn't, but he learned a lot about himself, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask that one of the other wonderful reporters here asked him, and he said that, he learned, 1,000% about himself, and, sometimes things don't work, but, when they don't work out, you figure things out, and you have to, learn to adapt just like everybody else. Like, everybody loses jobs, but it's how you move forward and you bounce back from that. And today, I wasn't surprised by anything, just in listening to him previously, whether that be at the NFL Combine or speaking, in off-the-record sessions at bars at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine too. This is just very authentically Matt. Nothing he said today surprised me. His attitude did not surprise me. That is who he is. And he's not trying to win the press conference. It's just genuinely him. So Nebraska fans are in for a treat if they like this sort of thing. Of course, a long time to go before we have any real football games around here, considering the season just wrapped. But there'll be a lot of talking season before we get to August and September.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, hope springs eternal, especially when you've got a new head coach coming in with a track record of fixing up programs who have been struggling, as Matt Rhule has. And I think we can only cram so many topics into this rapid reaction. Like I said, stay tuned for a Life in the Red podcast. We'll dive into all the details, go over everything in depth. But we appreciate all of you tuning in to today's coverage and, of course, today's rapid reaction. For Amie Just, I've been Luke Mullin. Thanks for watching.